Hi, this is Penny. Welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show how I made what I term a Bohemian curtain. It's a translucent curtain with plenty of colour in it that allows the light to come through from behind but blocks the really strong light. I use mine on an internal window which goes out onto a veranda so it doesn't get the sun bleaching it. However, you can do this also with solid scarves. You don't have to use translucent. It's crooked, it's wobbly, it's crinkled, and it's very organic looking, but I really like that effect. It's extremely bright and colourful. I've used all sorts of things on the strips of scarving. I've used little narrow satin ribbons, wide organza ribbons. I've used fluffy feathery yarns, eyelash yarns, and any other lengthy thing that looks good couched onto it. I've also machine embroidered it, and I was being lazy. I didn't really want to keep changing my threads, so I used a brightly coloured rainbow coloured cotton right throughout the whole procedure. And I sort of covered the ribbons that I sewed on with embroidery and the organza ribbons with embroidery, and just ran embroidery down the scarf wherever I thought it needed it. There are a couple of horizontal joins in it, but I'll talk about that later. Thrift shops usually have scarves, and they come in all different ranges of colours and sizes. Many of them are similar lengths, and for this project you need to choose the longest ones you can get. You don't have to be too fussy about whether you actually like the design, provided it's coloured and it's not a white scarf. You'll be absolutely fine. You don't necessarily have to use scarves for this. You can use a mixture of scarves and other fabrics, or you can just cut lengths of various remnant fabrics. I've actually cut pieces of clothing as well, which sort of ended up, some of them were cut on the bias and things like that, so it did make it a bit awkward to sew. Because of the nature of the see-through fabrics and the fragility of some of them, I considered putting it on a piece of old net curtaining that I had, a rather thin piece, and sort of sewing them onto that, but that proved to be quite difficult and unnecessary, and I ended up just hanging it like a double curtain in the end, so that when you look from the back of the window, you just see a net curtain with some colour behind it. Here you can see where I've joined the scarves together. I've spread the colour around by splitting them up into narrower pieces. Like if a scarf is really wide, you can get 2 or 3 pieces out of it, and you need to probably make them different widths so that it adds interest. You need some very thin ones and some wider ones of the same scarf, and then you can spread them around. And I'm also going to talk about mistakes that I made in this. Hopefully you won't make the same mistakes. I'm going to do a design tip here, and many of you will be fully aware of this, but for those that aren't, this little bit of information may save you making the same mistakes that I made here. Even though I know this really well, I still made the mistake. So if you have a look at this particular image, you can see 3 areas that are marked with a black circle, and each one is a join which has taken a mid-tone fabric and joined it with a very light tone fabric. The colours are not relevant, they're not important. It's just the lightness and the darkness of the fabrics. Now, they stand out and they don't look good, and they will stand out right through to the end of the curtain unless we camouflage it. The area in the red rectangle is a join that doesn't stand out because it's a green that is a mid-tone and a violet that is a mid-tone. So the tonal values are very similar. If you squint at it, they just fade into one tonal value. And that's really important. It makes a huge difference. So forget colour and look at lights and darks when you're joining your work. I hope that helps. I should add here that I'm talking about horizontal cuts across the width of the scarf, not the long strips going together, because the contrast in tonal values with the long strips is all part of the design. It's just cutting a few of them across the width of the scarf that is the dangerous part. Spread your colours out so that you've got the eye is satisfied and can sort of travel around the curtain and see the same colours in different areas. And also take note of where your lights and your darks are, because that's important. I actually had to create some fake darks in my curtain just to balance it. So don't make my mistake. Here I started attaching pieces. This isn't the full curtain yet. There's still more to go. And at this point I had it laid on the net curtain because I was still undecided. You need to measure your fabric so that you've got plenty to fit your window, because the stitching does shorten it. So I would allow an extra like 50 centimetres to your window length so that you've got enough when you've finished. I didn't do that. I made mine a bit too short, so by the time I trimmed it up and stitched it, I had to add a strip, top and bottom. So don't make that mistake. Now this stage, once you've determined the size and know that you have enough to cover your window, now's the time to let your imagination go wild. Collect up all your bits of ribbon, your bits of organza, anything long and almost see-through, or with things like the yarn, obviously they're not see-through, but they do show up quite well without blocking much light. So you can put anything you want into this. I made the mistake of sticking a few flowers over little fault areas, and that looked terrible because the flowers were just attracted too much attention and didn't let the light through. So, but anything that's long and thin, you can stitch on. And then just run long rows of embroidery, different stitches, different colours, whatever you want to do. Run that down the curtain. Go over the joins so that you strengthen the joints, because when I joined them together, I made a very narrow seam and I trimmed it really tight so that I didn't have a wide seam that showed when the light came through. So the seams weren't super strong. So I went over each one with a wide embroidery thread to sort of make them disappear and also strengthen them. So just do whatever you want and cover it from one end to the other with beautiful things. And you can even add the odd glass bead or something vertically down a seam, or it's totally up to you. Once you've done that, I suggest pressing it, because there's every chance that yours will go wobbly like mine did. And don't stress out over that, because the word Bohemian tends to encompass every little bit of wobble and irregularity that one can have in a handmade work. And you just tell everyone it's a Bohemian curtain and they'll go, oh! Whereas if you tell them that it's a patchwork curtain, they'll be horrified. Not that you should ever worry about what people say about your work. Constructive criticism's always good, but if people sort of condemn the work because it's not their style or they don't think it's done properly, that's different. To me, if somebody is so straight and they're saying that they can't appreciate artistic work, it just shows me that despite the fact that they may be very good stitchers or pattern makers or whatever, it shows me that they don't have any tolerance or any imagination. and they're not prepared to get out of their tiny comfort zone. So if you like it and you had fun doing it, it's okay. I suggest adding a strip across the bottom if you want to finish it off neatly. And also I added a horizontal strip of matching fabric across the top so that I could easily put the curtain rod through it. But you don't have to do that. You can just finish off both ends of your strips and make it look exactly the same. I hope you've enjoyed this crazy curtain video and that you can find somewhere in your house to hang it, or a friend that would receive it with love. As an aside, for those that are curious, this 3-handled urn in the image is made from corrugated cardboard, cartons, and sheeting, and wood stain. And no, it's not paper mache. And the raven, or the crow, is a fabric sculpture. So until next time, take care and thanks for watching.